Hello, I will be covering Introduction to Decimals 3.1 today. To start off, I'm just going to have a common decimal number, 1286.45. Now, one thing you have to remember about decimals is each place value is 1/10 of the value to its left. So, for example 1, we want to identify the place value of these three digits. And over here off to the right, I have a chart that lists up to thousands to hundred thousandths. And it continues on both ways, but I thought I'd just do these because I don't think you'll go much farther. As you see, thousands, hundreds, tens, ones. And then we started adding the th at the end of each of them. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths, hundred thousandths. So, if we look at this, the 8 is in the tens spot. Then the 4 is in the tenths spot. Don't forget that th on the end. And then the 5 is in the hundredths spot. Hundredths. And that's just using this chart. Eventually you won't need a chart, you'll just have it memorized. Now example 2, write out the decimal in words. So let's start out. 1,000. $200. $86. Don't forget the dash after words that end in ty. Now, in words, to represent a decimal, we use and. Then we have 4,500ths. Again, ends in ty, so hyphen. 4,500ths. And that is how you write a decimal out in words. Do not forget a decimal is represented by the word and. That's the only time you'll use and when writing a number out in words. Now on to example 3. Example 3. Write each decimal number as a fraction or a mixed number. Write in simplest form. Now to go from decimal to fraction, what I do is I say what the decimal is out loud, and that tells me the fraction. Like for A, this is 39 hundredths, which tells me it's 39 over 100. And then you see if you can reduce. This is not reducible because 39 is 3 and 13, and 3 and 13 both do not go into 100. Now, B, -9 and 9 hundredths. Well, I can write it as a mixed number, so I'm going to have -9, then 9 hundredths is 9 over 100. And again, 9 over 100 does not reduce. Now on to C. 11 and 406 thousandths. So again, 11 and 406 thousandths. So that tells me 1,000 goes in the denominator, or the bottom of the fraction. Now I notice that 406 and 1,000 are both even, which means I can reduce them by 2. Well, 2 goes into 406, 200 3 times, and 2 goes into 1,000 500 times. Now it seems like it's as reduced as possible, so the final answer is 11 203 500ths. Okay. On to example 4. Round each decimal to the given place value. Now remember your rounding rules. You look to the place value immediately to the right of the number that you are rounding. Then if it's a 5 or greater, you round the number up. If it's less than 5, it stays the same. And then with decimals, you drop all digits to the right. Where with whole numbers, we just turn them to zeros. With decimals, you just drop them. So for A, 63 and 4,526 hundred thousandths, round to the nearest thousands. So what I like to do is I like to underline what I'm rounding to, nearest thousands. So that's this 2. Then again, you look immediately to the right. It's a 6. It's greater than 5, so that means I round this up to a 3 and drop that place value. Everything else stays the same. So our final answer is 63 and 453 thousandths. Notice that the 100 thousandths place was dropped because it's a decimal. Now B, negative 602 thousandths to the nearest tenths. So again, I underline what I'm rounding to, so tenths. Look to the right, it's a 0. A 0 is less than 5, so that 6 stays the same. You drop those 2 values, and everything else stays the same. So negative 6 tenths. Now part C is 25 thousandths of a dollar, round to the nearest cent. Well, the cents is this place value, or the hundredths. I look immediately to the right. It is equal to 5. Our rules for rounding is when it's equal to 5, we round up. So that 2 becomes a 3. I drop the 5. Everything in front stays the same. So rounded to the nearest cent is 3 cents. Now D, $14,769.52. Round to the nearest dollar. So I'm going round to the dollar, so I'm underlining dollars. To the right is a 5, which means I have to round it up. Well, if I round 9 up, I get 10. So that's 0. I have to carry the 1. That becomes a 7. That stays a 7. 4, 1. And again, since these are decimals, I just drop them. So $14,769.52 rounded to the nearest dollar is $14,770. And that's the conclusion for Introduction to Decimals. I hope you found this useful.